Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're cracked up to be? Here at Terrible Book Club, we explore whether you really can judge a book by its cover, or its ridiculous synopsis. You ever passed a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are. Hello and welcome to episode 218 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Chris, and this is Paris.
Hello.
This time we read The You Are, a spiritual biography of you by Dr. Ricken Lazlo Hale, PhD, published a handful of weeks ago in the last week of January 2025 by Apple Books. Paris has been obsessed with Severance for a while, and I was recruited into the madness this year when my partner was like, hey, you should watch Severance since this new season is coming out.
Yeah, because I don't care what Paris thinks or take her recommendations into consideration.
Okay? Don't come at me like this, all right?
But it's true.
I knew about Severance because you had said it before, but I was confusing it with Succession for a long time.
Dude.
So
Would I like Succession, Chris? Like, do the math.
That's why I was baffled. That's why I was baffled, okay? And I was like, why does she like this business show about business people?
No.
Because the when you look at Severance's thumbnails in Apple TV, it looks like a businessy show.
I can't believe this.
Adam Scott's in a suit.
Wow.
So it was only until when Rebecca was like, hey, we should watch this. And I was like, okay, simply because when you're with a partner living together, often their tastes can guide what you're choosing to watch on TV. And I didn't have anything better to suggest. And she was like, I'd rewatch season 1. And I had no idea that it was like this sci-fi thing up until like episode 1 started.
Chris, I'm disappointed for 2 reasons. One, no recommendations from me ever make it through until Rebecca says the same recommendation, and then magically, listeners, this is not the first time this has happened.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
And then, secondly, I can't believe you thought I loved Succession and was talking about how great it was. I think that's so funny. Like, just the lack of thought given to that assumption.
You're absolutely right. In my defense, it's 2 shows that look like businessy shows because men in suits are in the thumbnails and they begin with S.
I get it. No, I understand. I understand how it happened, but it is still extremely funny to me.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, after receiving my scourges here for not listening to my good friend's recommendations whose tastes often align with mine.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway. We're just
all right. Well, we thought it would be fun to check out a book prop from a TV show that had become a real boy book. So this is like an in-universe book, written from the perspective of a character from the show.
Oh.
If this is your first time listening to this show, what we do here at the Terrible Book Club is read books that we assume will be bad based on their cover, title, summary, or some combination of the 3. Sometimes we read books that our patrons, listeners, or friends recommend. So we do the opposite of what most people do in a bookstore or while they're browsing the internet. Usually this experiment results in a disappointing read, but once in a while we actually end up liking the book. To be clear, the character in the show, Ricken Hale, is supposed to be sort of annoyingly pretentious and up his own ass.
And a caricature of all self-help authors, like all distilled into one person, basically.
So it felt very right for us to take a look at this, especially since we are both fans of the show.
Well, and because I think oftentimes when companies try to spin a book out of a TV or movie, it often does not go very well. Think about novelizations of films or, something like that. Obviously, this is a bit different, but it was worth a look for a lot of reasons.
Yep. Okay. So in addition to our usual barnyard language, today's episode includes possible spoilers for Severance. So we're going to do our best to not talk too much about the actual plot of the show and avoid most spoilers. But since we are fans, maybe there will be a section where we do talk a little bit about the plot. I am about to cut in a future Chris edit here describing where those spoilers might be in timestamp form. Hey y'all, future Chris here, letting you know that there are some mild Severance spoilers, basically stuff that gets set up pretty early on in the show. But if you want like zero context for the show, you're going to want to watch out for about an hour and 12 minutes into this episode up until about 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 45 seconds. So watch out for that spot. Okay, so if future Chris cut in there just now, then there might be some spoilers, and I gave you the timestamps to skip over for that. But we are going to do our best to avoid talking about the actual show as much as possible here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you, Chris.
I'm going to read the back of the book summary. So this is supposed to get you to buy Dr. Ricken Lazlo Hale's self-help book. So it is, again, written in universe, shall we say. Are you ready to meet the person who truly makes you you? In this quinquennial tome, Dr. Ricken Lazlo Hale, PhD, guides you on a brave journey of self-learnedness. Fertile with mind-engorging insights, the you are is an invitation to merge with your true you and expel from your essence the dead-eyed conventionalism that has defined your life since infancy. For the first time ever, Dr. Ricken's luminous writings are available in digital format, only on Apple Books. Though librarians strongly urge reading his complete oeuvre, this ebook, featuring the inaugural 8 chapters from the UUR, is sure to tickle both the completist and the layman. In addition, enjoy an exclusive letter of apology from the author himself, addressed to none other than you.
Oh, man. So
that,
good.
I mean, I don't know what quinquennial is, but that's a pretty good word to describe the mood of this book.
Yeah, I mean, quinquennial is just, it's like, okay, you know how annual is every year? Quinquennial is every 5 years.
I see. So like a needlessly pretentious word to describe.
Yes.
I put a book out every 5 years.
In his, I guess, 5th book, or maybe in the book written 5 years after the last one. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's 5th, but I don't know. But
we
anyway,
do get a couple of other titles that Dr. Ricken has written, like My Own Petard, which is a pretty good title.
Good.
Okay, so characters and setting here. There's not really a setting since this is a self-help book. So the main character is you. Since we're doing a self-help and self-analysis kind of thing, often you are asked to think about yourself or something in that fashion. Obviously, we also have Dr. Ricken Lazlo Hale, PhD, who is giving you advice.
I do just want to say, like, that's funny to me because if you have a PhD or an MD, you choose to use either the suffix or the title. So it should be Dr. Ricken Lazlo Hale or Ricken Lazlo Hale, PhD. Using both is actually completely incorrect unless he somehow has 2 different doctorates, which I guess is possible because he seems pretentious and well off. So, like, maybe he has a PhD in one thing and a second, but it still is, like, bad form to do that, which I think is a perfect subtle joke.
He just wants to, like, bookend himself a little bit, right? You know, the prefix and then the suffix to sort of, like, encase his name. Okay, we also have Devin, who is Ricken's wife, appearing briefly here. We have Flip, quote unquote, Devin's brother, who is Mark from the show Severance. He's sort of actually the protagonist of the show. And Nan, quote unquote, Mark/Flip's wife, who passed away before the events of the show and this book. And we'll leave it pretty much there. Their names are changed because they don't want to be mentioned by their real names in the book. So he just gives them these pseudonyms, although funnily enough, later on, there's some things that break because of that. All right, Paris, those are the characters and settings. So why don't you start with the summary?
Sure. Thank you for writing the summary today, Chris. This is going back to our old format where we both read the thing. This was so short that it worked out for us this year. And Chris wrote this lovely summary, so I'm going to read it for you today. All right. This book is so short we can summarize it by just describing each chapter. The first section is the author's note, wherein Ricken apologizes for the delay in completing the full version of the book and thanks you for just buying these first 8 chapters, which was fucking hilarious. All right, introduction. We start with a fake, horrifying fact about Mozart, which is, as a child, Wolfgang Mozart killed another boy by slamming his head in a piano. Then Ricken philosophizes a bit about how you can mean an individual reading the book and the audience as a collective. It's excruciating. Then Ricken defines 5 possible you types: the coward, the warrior, the dove, the scribe, and the vestal. So, Chris, which one are we, before we continue with our summary? Which you types are we subscribed to?
Because these are very shallow self-help personality types that we've seen so many different variations of. I feel like there is the one that is very obviously for us. I picked the scribe just because, I'm a creative. Of course we would pick that though, Paris, right? Like we're the creative type, so we want to think of ourselves as the scribe.
We're both the scribe.
Except it's really just scribando again here. We've scribed yet more pieces of shit. I'm back. Scribando comes near.
Oh man, I was
back again to scribe more pieces of shit.
I was not expecting Scribando's triumphant return.
Yeah, you weren't expecting the Scribando callback, were you?
No.
That's my U-type. The wizard of shitty books and music.
Oh. All right, great. So you are then asked to choose your U-type and place it on a written note on your bathroom vanity. So on your bathroom mirror.
So that's going to be a theme here, right? Like we are going to be asked to place something on our bathroom vanity, and I'm sure we will just check in as this summary goes on to ask each other what the object or thing that we might place would be.
All right. Moving on to chapter 1. Ricken talks about names, where his name came from, his family history, the fact that humans are different from other types of animals. We're bombarded with quote-unquote facts and observations that range from stunningly obvious to clearly incorrect on their face, like stating, studies show that first names tend to be particular to the individual, whereas surnames are tied to the family. And
that one killed me.
Me too. And apes did not attain language until 1972, when ASL was invented by a lowland gorilla named Coco. We also hear about Ricken's criminal performance artist parents. You are then asked to place another scrap of paper with your first name on it on the vanity. So
really easy step there.
Right, right. All right, chapter 2. Ricken recounts a hiking trip he took with his wife, Devon, and his friends, Flip and Nan, who are clearly Mark and Gemma from Severance. He encounters a beehive that he mistakes for a wig and laughs to himself about how the hick bees create hives so different from industrial beehives. He closes with a tribute limerick to Nan, even though the limerick's rhyme scheme only works if you use Gemma's real name omitted by request. So he did a find and replace and forgot that his poem ended on the rhyme, which was pretty good.
Would we like to read the limerick now?
Like a bee with a broken antenna, I am now in a sad man's dilemma, for draining my soul is a dark, weeping hole in the shape of my dear, sweet friend, Nan.
Oh man, it's just, like everything in this book is so surface level. Like if you just thought about it for another couple of seconds, you would realize how it's untrue or it doesn't work.
All right. Chapter 3. Wading into perhaps the shallowest theological pool that could possibly exist, Ricken derides Sister Act, the film, and uses this as a springboard to talk about how you should pick a religion that feels right for you, then affix a representative totem of that faith to your vanity. Maybe it's a picture of him, he suggests.
Yeah, okay, so Paris, what's your religious totem?
My religious totem, I'm not religious, and the closest thing I had on my desk was a Yuligata, which is a Yule goat. Okay. So I was like, I don't know. I like Yule time and Scandinavian shit, Nordic pagan shit, I guess, even though I'm not religious at all. So that was the best I could do.
Okay, fair enough. Also mildly Severance linked. For me, I would just like, I do have like a little cross stitch of a ramen emoji that Rebecca made for me. That is framed up on my like monitor over here. So I figured like that is my religious totem, is like a nice warm bowl of ramen.
Dude, that's perfect.
Made for me by someone that loves me, you know?
Yeah. Chapter 4. Did you know sex is good? You shouldn't hold yourself back from experiencing erotic freedom. Also, Ricken and Devon have fantastic sex, according to this book. You should place an item you find sexy in your shrine.
Okay, Paris. So now the fun question, the spicy question. What is your sexy object?
So again, just turning to my desk, I have a picture from my wedding photo shoot of me and my husband, and it's not like overtly sexy, but like it's very romanticized and therefore could be considered that. So I just went with that.
There's some shots from that shoot that could be a romance novel cover, I would say. They're not like bodice rippery, like not like that kind of level, but like, you know, you guys are like in a castle.
Yeah, I can describe it to you. So again, I'm not really one to boast and like talk about how great anything is about me or my life, but let me say, this photo series from for my wedding, we actually did it before the wedding, is fucking incredible because I hired my friend who is an amazing photographer. I will fight anyone who doesn't like her work. She does just fabulous work. I guess her name she goes by is Light Witch. So if you ever need to hire a photographer and you're willing to shell out some dollars, please do it.
If you like a soft focus sort of like medieval / occult thing, Courtney knocks it out of the fucking park. I still have to like book a shoot with her I don't know what I want, but I need to book something with her, man.
Find a reason.
Eventually. It is so good. And I agree that your wedding series photo shoot is perhaps the best wedding photo shoot I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was really awesome. So we rented out a castle. And the picture, the one that's on my desk, I have others, but the one that's on my desk is my husband and I standing in a stone archway overlooking the sea, and we are both holding a sword and a dagger. Like each of us have a sword and a dagger, and we are in our finery. It's quite good.
It's sick as hell, man.
Yeah, my wedding dress was like teal and floral too, so it's like a nice color scheme. Anyway.
Paris, I have to butt in at this point and say that you've been picking things that are just on your desk in front of you. So I have to ask, is your work desk just your you are like vanity? Like you just have created this already?
I mean, my desk is kind of a weird shrine. Like I never thought about it, but I have things on my desk that I really love. So I have like the picture from my wedding shoot. I have my Julieta, which my Yule goat, which was a nice gift someone gave me. I have pictures of my cat London, who passed away several years ago. I have dried flowers. I have a Lego flower that was given to me by my other best friend. I have paintings that my husband has made me. I have figurines I've gotten I don't know. I have like a lot of nice decor that is meaningful on my desk, and I hadn't thought about it, but I even have candles with my band name inscribed on them that one of my friends made.
See, there's like the first name thing that like instead of just your first name, it's just like your band logo is on a candle instead. So you've already done the work before we even started this book.
Yes.
Okay, so the question has to get flipped on me.
Yeah, what's yours?
So like what's like a sexy object that I might put on a shrine over here? Unfortunately, I don't have anything like really sexy in front of me right here. There is a very nice picture that I took of Rebecca that she printed out on like photo stock paper that I still need to get framed and put over there. She's just very smiley. It's like we were out for a walk on like a beach that was close by. It's a very beautiful picture. I would use that, but like I feel like that's the non-fun answer for this one, so I will.
I think that's fine.
That's like the nice answer, but for comedy's sake, I will say that if I had to put an image of something that excites me, perhaps it would be an image of like Either Velma from Scooby-Doo, noted, as we have seen that I
Oh God, that is not, I was just like, it's gonna be a butt. Like, that was my guess.
Okay, so close to that. It would actually, like, if it wasn't Velma from Scooby-Doo, it would be like a picture of a thigh that, like, and there is like either like the person is wearing a pair of shorts or perhaps like thigh-high socks, such that the border of the article of clothing is like gently squeezing the thigh muscle.
That is very specific. Listeners, welcome to Chris's personal fetishes. All right, moving on.
Sorry, but hey, man.
Hey, he asked. We're just following instructions.
Yeah, I'm following directions here, man.
Chapter 5 is an acrostic poem based on the word destiny, where the letter Y is taken to be the question, why, W-H-Y. Ricken is a real trailblazer here.
I mean, some classic, like, two up your own ass intelligence display here.
Chapter 6, Ricken pats himself on the back for the trailblazing he did back there and apologizes for using the military tactic of subverting expectations. You are then asked to place an item that would subvert others' expectations of you in your U-type shrine. Chris, what is your subversion item in your shrine?
I had trouble thinking about this, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm a very upfront dude with what I like and what I enjoy. And it's not exactly, I don't think I'm a trailblazer here. I do give off pretty big, straight white guy energy in terms of my interests. I don't think I'm really offering much that's outside that, you know, like I like metal and I like lifting weights and I like food and I like dogs and things like that, which, you know, no one's like that surprised when they hear that. So I will say, having given off that amount of straight white guy energy, the thing that I think is mildly surprising is that I really, you know, I like a nice salad. You know, just like a nice green salad with like some cucumbers, maybe like some fruit or like nuts mixed in there. If it's done really well, it's quite refreshing and I enjoy it a lot. And if that's not an acceptable answer, I don't know. Maybe the fact that I like to wear women's leggings in the winter as a second layer instead of like anything that is, you know, a second layer for men. Because second layers for men are weirdly more expensive and you can get like nice fleece-lined women's leggings at fucking Ocean State Job Lot for like $5 instead of like the $25 that they want for dudes' leggings.
It's true. It's like, yeah, no, you're absolutely right on the leggings thing. So is your totem on your desk or shrine like a pair of leggings and like a lettuce leaf? Like what?
Yeah, that's it. You know, it's just a pair of leggings that I've doused in like Italian dressing or perhaps like a light vinaigrette.
Okay, this doesn't exist. So this is an aspirational totem that you do not yet have in your shrine. Okay.
Exactly. What about
you? For me, I feel like I too am very straightforward and upfront about my interests and what I like. But I think that people might be surprised to know that I have saved a letter and a note, two different things on my desk, and I keep them within eyesight. They are from other musicians that I really admire, who wrote like very supportive notes to me about my own musical endeavors, and they mean a lot to me, so they are on my desk. And I feel like it might not, because I'm not really a sentimental person, but I don't know. Those two things were important to me, and I can see them right now.
Once again, proof that you've already done the work here.
I have. All right. Chapter 7. Ricken uses a devastating remark, Flip, made to him, which is, everyone laughs at you the second you walk out of the fucking room, to create another acrostic where the first letter of every word in the phrase creates a word that affirms Ricken instead of bringing him down. You are then asked to do the same. All right, Chris. Let's, what do you think? Should we do a bad TBC review and do an acrostic for this?
I think we have done our personal ones well on the side. True. So I think we should do the personal ones first to reveal to each other what the insult and like how we redid it with affirmations about ourselves is, and then together we can do a TBC focused one as a group exercise.
Okay. And just remember, folks, there's still one more chapter after this. So we will.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go first with your acrostic poem derived from an insult? We'd like to first tell us a little about the insult, where it comes from, and then
of course,
go ahead.
There's a little backstory here. I might have mentioned this on an earlier episode of TBC, or we brought it up together on an earlier episode of TBC. But I was an original member of Concilium, patting myself on the back there a little bit.
Which is my
part
band
of that crew.
Yeah, for the uninitiated listener.
So I was a founding member, and we, wrote some tunes, and we played some songs together. And one of the first Concilium shows was at Koto in Salem, Massachusetts. And at the time, they had a little stage set up like in a corner. And,
this is the original stage at Koto. This is not for anybody who's in the northeast of the U.S. This is not what it looks like now.
Yeah. So there was a little stage from the corner, and, they're a restaurant too. They serve drinks and food, and random people would be in, not necessarily for the metal show. And we played a set as Concilium, and there was a fella there. He was an older gentleman, perhaps in his 60s, I would say.
Yeah, I would guess that.
I have zero context for who this person was.
This was 10 years ago? 9 or 10 years ago. Yeah, for context.
He was just some guy at the show, and I guess he was also a guitar player or guitar enjoyer of some type. So I did not receive this insult directly from him, but he was talking to someone else. Was it you, Paris, or was it someone else?
I think Greg, our other guitarist, Greg, I think he overheard him because there was a gathering outside and he was complaining to other attendees about how much he hated our band. And I believe Greg may have been out there and overheard him or something like that. I don't quite remember the transmission here, like how we found out, but.
So anyway, he's out there relaying his qualms, shall we say, with my guitar playing in particular. And he described me as having F- guitar playing. which like objectively is untrue because Chris is very skilled at guitar playing. So it was extra funny because it's like just so untrue. I mean, even back then, like we were a new band just playing our first few shows, but I don't know that it was that bad. Like we weren't great, but I would give us like a C+. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll accept a C, even a C-. I would maybe even a D, to be honest with you, because as any musician knows, you're always grading yourself a little bit. And obviously, looking at myself now from when I was back then, I would grade myself harshly back then. I have learned so much since then.
Yeah, same.
But F-, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but
come
still,
on, man.
You get hit with these things sometimes. So anyway, I've created a little acrostic poem here where the first letter of F- guitar playing, I have turned into some self-affirmation about myself here. Okay, so we're going to just go down this list and, I will explain some of them, but I will probably clip through some other
No,
things.
you can just read it. You just read it. Don't explain.
Okay.
Let's all be in a flow state. Let's all be in a flow state.
You might want some explanations, Paris, after you hear these. Okay, so F- guitar playing. F for fart holder. M for malleable. I for I love dogs. N for not a Joe Rogan listener. U for usually reliable. S for simple. G for generous. U for understanding. I for I always finish my plate. T for tolerably chaotic. A for always early. R for real. P for puts the cart back. L for looks both ways. A for able to live with it. Y for yes-ander. I for innocent of crimes. N for never lonely. And G for good enough at guitar.
Great. That was a really good list. We do have some crossover, which is fun.
Oh, Interesting. Would you like any explanations for anything?
No,
that I
no, those
put
were
through?
all totally fine. I don't need explanations for any of that shit. All makes sense to me. All right, mine is unfortunately very long because I chose like a full sentence. So my story about my insult origin is it comes from a review of my band's EP from 2019. And the review is on a site called Rate Your Music. Now, if you are a musician,
fucking rate your music.
Yeah, you know, this is like a site where things are just notoriously negative. Like it's just, I don't know what it is. It just breeds negativity. So
It's just shit talkers, man.
Yeah, so generally the reviews you find on here have a bit of a negative weight, negative slant to them. So it wasn't a surprise to me. And honestly, to be fair, this review was really just honest, which I appreciate. I think maybe this just like isn't for this person or whatever, but you know, so it wasn't like overly cruel. But there is one line from the review that still makes me laugh. So my insult that I'm basing my acrostic poem on is, her voice is a cross between genders to me, and well, I can't say I liked it much. I don't know. It's just such a funny thing to say and a way to write it. When you hear
that about like, yeah, like, oh, well, she's in a low octave and that therefore it sounds manly. It's just like all altos can go fuck themselves. If you're below C3, then I can't deal with it unless you're a man.
Yeah, like I have a contralto range, so I don't have that like high soprano, airy voice most people associate with like feminine voices. So this is like a sentiment that I've heard a lot. A lot of people just have this weird negative reaction that's based in gender. And this one, I don't know.
It makes no sense to me because you still sound like a woman.
I've been mistaken for a man more than once. I can think of 3 instances. This is one of them. And 2 others were somebody listening to the band for the first time thought I was a guy, and then one day we were practicing in the band space, and we were in our own room with the door shut. We were covering Rainbow. I think we were covering a Dio song. I think we were rehearsing Stargazer because we used to play that live all the time. And somebody knocked on the door to be like, oh my God, that was great. Like, I know this sounds fake, but this actually happened twice. But in this instance, somebody was like, oh my God, that was so good. Like, and I was the one closest to the door. I opened the door and I'm just kind of standing there like wedged between the door and the wall because it's a small space. And the dude looks around and he's like, oh, who was singing? Just blankly looking at all the men in the room, and I was just behind the door, and I was like, it's me? And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. So, I don't know. This happens all the time. People think I'm a man, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. But with the confusion, I just think it's weird that people are so hung up on this idea
like
of
the range
so
needs
strange
to conform to their expectation.
Yeah. Anyway, that was perhaps too long of a backstory. So mine is pretty long. So I'm just gonna... All right, again. Ahem.
I will try not to interrupt you.
Okay. Hardworking, efficient, rational, vocalist, open-minded, independent, caring, entertaining, iconoclastic, sagacious,
Ooh.
academia inclined, confrontational, resourceful, opinionated, strawberry blonde, scent loving, balanced, eloquent when I need to be.
Oh.
Talkative, well fed, eco-friendly, emotive, no debts, generous, engaging, no nonsense, dependable, ethically minded, realistic, short, teachable, overachiever, meal maker.
Love it.
Empathetic, affectionate, nerdy, database working. That was a real stretch.
Yeah, you gotta run out of things that start with letters.
Worrisome, extreme heavy metal lover, lifts weights, Late unless it is extremely important to be on time.
Okay, so we have a little opposition there.
Yes. Icy blue eyes. Concise. Abrasive. Not thin. Tenacious. Self-aware. Allergic to pineapple mildly.
Oh.
Yuletide enjoyer. Intense. Lyrical. Inquisitive. Kind. Extroverted half the time. Dual sciatica haver. Introverted the other half of the time. Thoughtful. Morbid sense of humor. Unselfish. Cautious and helpful.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a pretty good overview of you, Paris. I think we crossed over on generous there.
Yeah, we crossed over on generous, and I think that's it.
That's all. That's the only thing.
No, but I am also a cart returner. So it's good to know that
That's
we both
true.
return our trolleys after shopping. This is good. This is important.
All right. Well, I think everyone's gotten a window into our personalities here. So, that was an effective exercise, I think.
Yes.
Did that lessen the sharpness of the insult for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wasn't particularly bad to begin with. It was just funny to me.
Editing Chris from the future here to tell you that coincidentally, Paris was reading a book by a real social psychologist right after this, and it turns out stuff like this actually works. According to Dr. Dolly Chugh, doing value affirmation exercises can essentially vaccinate you from perceived threats like shitty reviews. For more on her work, check out her TED Talk linked in the show notes or her books and articles.
Okay, so now together we should do the TBC-based insult. And I think
Okay.
there is one that we have idolized in a lot of ways.
Yeah, listeners, we have so many negative reviews, and they are all because people perceive the show as too left-leaning. So they're always quite funny. Or because we didn't like a book that they really liked, they took it personally, which is just a stupid thing to do. I don't care. That's a fucking stupid thing to do. Don't take it personally if we don't like a book you like. It's a weird thing to do. But yeah, Chris, tell us which review we're gonna make it acrostic of.
There was a review I forgot on what service it was left on a while ago.
I think it was Apple Podcasts.
Probably. So a little crossover here with Apple Media. And this review was very short. It was 3 words, and we actually used it as the cover photo on our Facebook for quite a long time.
I think Facebook, Twitter, I had it as our background for a while.
It was so good, and honestly, a pretty good summation of us in some ways. The review was simply loud and wrong.
In all caps with an exclamation point. And was it 1 star or confusingly 2 stars? I don't remember.
I think it was 1 star.
Okay,
I think I remember it being 1 star.
Mm-hmm.
So I think together we should work out an acrostic for loud and wrong that describes the show or both of us in some way.
Okay.
L. What is L for, Paris?
I mean, for loud.
Literate.
We can.
Literate.
No, you
can't just use the same word. You can't just use the same word.
Literate. What's O?
Out there. We read the shit that no other person would.
Okay. Out there. What's U? Unscripted.
Unscripted, yes.
I mean, we have,
Very much.
We have a script just so we don't forget to do the opening of the show right. But yeah, I mean, this is not a planned thing. What's D? Dedicated. We've been doing the show for almost 10 years every 2 weeks, except for the 1 year we were off air.
I was going to say determined, but that's basically the same idea.
Yeah. What's A?
Always on time because we're always on schedule.
Great. Yeah. All right. What's N?
Just nice. Because, we try to give books credit, I think.
No, I wouldn't say nice to me is surface level performative. I think
I see.
Kind is a better word, so let's do something else for N.
Nerdy.
Yeah, okay. We're nerdy. All right, D again.
Discerning.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. All right, what's W? Writers hate us.
Yeah, actually, that's way better than what I had.
All right. What's R? Readers.
Yeah,
Easy.
sure. You know.
Fuck, another O. Why is O so hard?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Oh, you know what? You know what is an important thing to remember that this reviewer needs to remember? We are optional. You don't have to listen to this fucking show. You don't
Actually,
have to leave a review if you don't like
great.
it. You can just go away. You can just listen to something else. That's great.
We're not out here really begging for subscribers that often, which is perhaps part of the reason why we still have a low subscriber rate. But
No, I think it's funny because actually I think we are free of a lot of things because we don't do this for our jobs. Whereas a lot of people who do podcasts, YouTube shows, whatever, they want subscribers because they need the money because it's their source of income. And we're just like, fuck it. We don't care. So you know what? You don't have to subscribe to this. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I think
there's
it's
a small
funny.
income that we get. There's an account that we can use, and we try to use it for TBC related things and to treat ourselves to things that could be argued to be TBC related.
No. I mean, we have a fund for the show. We make enough for it to be self-sustaining, and that's all we need. So I just think it's funny when people are like, I'm not subscribing. It's like, cool, motherfucker, go subscribe to something you like. I don't care, man. Like, I'm not trying to recruit an army.
We're wallowing in the shit down here, man. You don't have to join us.
You have no power over me. Actually, yeah, no power over us. That's for N. No power
just
over
very
us.
oppositional here.
Right.
Now.
What's
NG.
G?
Generous again.
No, gregarious.
Yeah, that we did need a word for like won't shut the
talkative.
fuck up, I think.
Great. All right, so in
there
summary,
we go.
We are literate, out there, unscripted, dedicated, always on time, nerdy, discerning. Writers hate us. Readers, optional, no power over us, comma, listeners, and gregarious. Right, we did it.
Yeah, that's a really good one, man. That's a really good one. Okay.
All right, we're going to keep being
this
loud
has been
and
a substantial
wrong.
diversion into acrostics.
All right, and finally, Chapter 8. You should create a charity or donate to one. Boy, it sure is easy to just set one up, even if it's as stupid as shouting positive reviews you've received at random strangers who may be dealing with poverty, but rephrasing it so the reviews are about them. You should donate to Ricken's The Accolades experiment, which is definitely not a horribly mismanaged slush fund so he can go on vacation. You'll get prizes. You can put in your U-type shrine from him if you do so.
Amazing.
We did not do this part. This is the one part we didn't do.
Yeah,
also,
we're not starting a charity I donate to charities on the regular already, so.
We have now come to the end of the summary and our homework that we completed that Ricken asked us to do. So shall we move into the rubric, Chris?
Yes, indeed. I think we should. And we can start off with technical construction.
Great.
Which, it's edited well. This was still on Apple Books and done in the universe of a show where details matter.
Yeah,
so I think that carried over into this, in that, sure, it's a sort of a silly, funny look at someone who's way too up his own butt and likes to pretend to be very, very smart. But it is well edited. There's not really any typos. The format makes sense, right? Like, he's trying to give you things to set up your U-type shrine. The punctuation was also fine. The cover art, I also thought, was perfect for the effect of retro throwback self-help, because it's just Ricken. But behind him is this, like, flashing light, sort of, not a lens flare. I don't know what you'd call that, right? It's just like it's like a glow or a burst of light behind him to sort of be like, wow, Ricken, it's Ricken on the cover. You should really take a look at this book, this smart man. He's like holding his chin thoughtfully.
Yes.
And like looking at you. And so that just really fits the vibe. We don't know when Severance takes place exactly. There's a lot of like weird anachronistic technology mixed with like current era technology, but it really hits this vibe of like late 90s, early 2000s self-help book where there's just like a person on the cover that's supposed to look smart.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in a sweater vest and he's like thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything. I only noticed one typo. I mean, this is a very, very short book. It was like 40 pages or something, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally agree. I would give this a 1 for technical construction. It hits all of the points it should hit for a satire about this thing. So Wonderfully done.
All right. Moving into plot construction. And then, this straddles the line between fiction and nonfiction in sort of an interesting way.
Yeah,
it's a nonfiction book created in a fictionalized universe. So there's, meta-narrative to consider here. And we could just move into like the general coherence of it, which, as it's laid out, it's perfectly fine in terms of formatting, but the content is mostly nonsense, right? Like,
it is total nonsense. Like, the sentences flow like a sentence, but they are meaningless, is basically how it works.
Everything is so surface level, and as we mentioned before, stunningly obvious to make you cringe at nearly every other line that you read in this book. There's a lot of facts and observations here that just made me laugh out loud.
Oh, yeah.
And I would like to list some of them. Paris, do you want to trade off on this, or do you want me to just list them?
You can just go ahead and list all those facts and observations. Go for it.
Okay, so we can, if you remember the first name and surname thing that we mentioned in the summary, like as soon as I read that, I was actually doubled over because it's just such a well-crafted bit of this person thinks they're so fucking smart, but they're also like hard. This one even wasn't necessarily incorrect. It's just so obviously that's what we know from interacting with first name and surname in our culture too.
There's the function of those things. Yes, we understand.
Yes. So we can just move into like the next observation. Schrodinger was history's greatest feline researcher.
No, oh my God.
So if you don't know Schrodinger's cat, it was a thought experiment proposed by like quantum physics researcher Schrodinger. I forget, what is his first name?
I actually
Probably
don't
Arnold,
remember.
right?
What?
or am I thinking of Arnold Schoenberg, who is the 12-tone guy
it's
from
not
music?
Arnold. It's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't remember. I want to say it was something extremely German or Austrian. Erwin.
That would make sense.
Erwin Schrodinger.
Okay. So Erwin here proposed the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, which like there's a cat trapped in a box and like there's a gas that's, put into the box.
Well, there's
the cat
poison. There's poison. And then, you don't, because you can't see what's happening, the cat is both dead and alive, which reflects our conception of like quantum stuff that is simultaneously in two states, whatever. You probably know what this is. Anyway, he totally misinterprets this and is like, yeah, Schrodinger was a cat researcher. It's just, I don't know, that gave me a laugh too.
Yeah, it's really good. Continuing, man and beast are separated by clothing, music, social hierarchy, swimming, and bridges. So, nearly all of that you can find within the animal kingdom in some form. Like, even clothing, perhaps we can make an argument about certain creatures that, wear things that they find around. It's probably not as common, so that's a decent one.
Music, could class it as tool use. You could consider it tool use, which you could see.
Music, we have animals that definitely understand pitch. Like, look at most birds.
Whales, birds,
whales,
famously.
Social hierarchy is
in,
noted
everything.
in many. Many, just because it's not exactly like humans. Swimming is hilarious because any aquatic creature.
And bridges?
And you can maybe argue a dam, right?
Plenty of animals create structures. So it's just absurd.
Next fact.
Oh.
Bees are separated into 3 subsets: workers, queens, and wasps who protect the hive.
Wasps are not bees. Surprise.
Okay, another fact that you might be interested is that Ricken, as of the writing of this book, has had sex precisely 786 times. And boy, oh boy, is keeping track of the exact number so very Ricken. Also, while we're on the topic of sex can be simply interacting with a creative artist's work. So, he goes on a little tangent about how, well, I had sex with Mozart the other night because I was listening to his works and things like that.
Sure.
Which is also wonderfully Ricken. Continuing, all people were created by sex. This is a realization that Ricken has when he's like, oh, everyone out there was created by the act of sexual congress, which is also not true because you could have IVF and things like that.
Yeah. You could have a test tube, baby. You can, there's a lot of things that could happen there.
Subverting expectations only breached the literary world in the last few years, as we alluded to before. Ricken thought it was exclusively a military tactic, like, making your enemy's army expect you to do one thing and then doing another was only the realm of war.
Right.
And finally, charity was invented by Florence Nightingale in 1854.
Oh, God, so good. I mean, there are tons of others. These are pretty uproariously funny when you're reading. I don't know. I laughed out loud a couple times. Yeah, and I just think these are fantastic because it does a great job of satirizing, books by academics or that are targeted toward lay people, because a lot of the time, if somebody sees a book and the author has PhD or doctor in the title, they will just assume anything in the book is correct and true without any other context. And so I think this is a great example of how this happens, where authors will just say stuff and people will repeat it without thinking, maybe that's not true, or maybe the author isn't actually an expert in that thing they were talking about, which is the most common way this happens. Like, look at, for example, Jordan Peterson, who, is a, I believe, psychologist, not a psychiatrist. He doesn't prescribe. God, I hope he's not prescribing medications.
He certainly would have prescribed himself a lot of things if that was the case.
I'm pretty certain that he is a psychologist, and yet he will pontificate and expound on topics in like anthropology or sociology or other aspects of human behavior that he does not understand, and therefore will be wrong about a lot of things. So anyway, yeah, it was just a great satirization of that horrible trope that oppresses us all these days.
It's so well done, and it's so hard to do that. Like, to do the bad on purpose or stupid on purpose thing is incredibly difficult. It's a hard line to walk, and this book does it pretty perfectly, I would say.
Oh yeah. So in terms of like rules following, it absolutely follows those rules of like trying to give you little boxes to fit into to make you feel like you have an answer. And also the other hallmark of self-help books, where they try to funnel more money back to the author by getting you to spend more money. So for example, Ricken is asking you to buy this book twice because this book is just 8 chapters. He's like, oh, I just couldn't publish the rest of it. So I really did this for you. I cut a deal with the publisher so you would have access to this early. It's like, no, you're just making people buy your fucking book twice. And then like, secondly, asking you to donate to charity to his charity to get prizes. Like, he's just making you give him more money. It's just, I really loved that aspect of it. I thought that was also excellent.
Yes. Very, very, very well done.
And in terms of character quality, this is just all Ricken. And then we do get some more insight into Gemma, which is nice because in the show, she's a sort of a mystery until later on, let's say. And in this book, Ricken talks about how close he is with Mark and Gemma, or, Flip and Nan in the book, I guess. But you learn that Gemma thought Ricken was just as much of a joke as Mark, and used to tell Ricken, like, oh yeah, we listened to your tape. He made some fucking bizarre, quote unquote, musical tape or soundscape or something.
It was him doing Tuvan throat singing.
Yes, thank you for remembering specifically what it was. And she was like, oh yeah, we listen to it all the time, when it turns out they would listen to it at home and make fun of it. So, you come to understand that Mark and Gemma tolerated him to a point, but also found him really hard to deal with and just kind of absurd and a pain in the ass in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and although we're getting it through the lens of Ricken, I do think Mark and Gemma's character comes through in the chapters that they're talked about. Like, Mark is ultimately a little bit acerbic. He's, he likes to kind of like poke fun. He's like a little bit of a jerk to Ricken, to be clear. That is kind of Mark's style in a lot of ways. And Gemma is trying to be kind. And although we don't really get much of Gemma in the show, The vibe that you are given is that she is trying to mostly be kind to people around her, or at least generous in some way, shall we say?
I don't know. Actually, I would disagree with you there. I think this is his perception of her.
Sure.
I don't know that she was trying to hide it. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't really matter. But point being,
I would agree. Like, it's Gemma through the
slice.
lens of Ricken very much. And that is also well done.
What would we give this for plot construction and like?
So yeah, we have to start thinking about like, are we judging this in, again, sort of the meta level of like what it is trying to be versus the in-universe level. In universe, you're supposed to cringe at it a little bit, but on the meta level, the cringing is what the author ostensibly was trying to get us to do. I am inclined to somewhat judge things on the meta level instead of the in-universe level. So I would give this a 1 in that it is a well-done version of the pretentious self-help book.
Okay, Chris, I think we need to do quantum grading. We need to grade it for both levels for each section. So, okay, I think for technical construction, I think we give it a 1 in both states.
Yes, I would agree.
But then for plot construction, I think it's actually a -1 in universe and a 1 out of universe. So, all right, great. So we're going to quantum grade this and give you the two.
We have quantum bits happening
here. Okay, great. All right, let's talk moment to moment. Let's talk about prose quality and dialogue. So, as I mentioned earlier, the sentences are correctly structured and they read well, but their content is often entirely false or nonsensical, absurd, and as ironic as this is supposed to be, it's extremely well done. I think it's difficult in prose, as we talked about before, to balance just the right amount of smugness and pretentiousness that makes this as funny as it is. And again, we both laughed out loud at this book, which is like not a thing either of us do often. And we've talked about how difficult it is to be funny in writing before. So I don't know. It stuck out to me. I think this was masterfully crafted.
Yeah.
And in dialogue, I mean, every time Ricken quotes himself, you cringe, but everyone else sounds normal, which, once again, is the point. So, I don't know. Did you have anything
I would
else
actually
to
like
say?
to read a chapter, if you
duh.
don't mind, Paris.
Yeah, let's do some readings. Did you have a couple of pieces
I think just reading chapter 3 would be the best way to do this. The Sister Act chapter.
Oh. Okay, God, I forgot about it.
It's just a really good distillation of what is going on in this book. So I think it's short. So I'm just going to read chapter 3 from the UUR. Hopefully Apple doesn't get up my ass about this because we can talk later about how Apple is a little bit restrictive on.
No, I mean we're doing a critique and we're taking a selection to talk about. That's fine.
I know, but something will come up in Terriblo's presence that is relevant.
Okay, all right, exciting.
Okay, chapter 3. Good God? ? The spring of 1992 saw the release of an American religious satire film which I consider to be the most over-celebrated piece of commercial cinema ever produced. Before I reveal the name of said picture and the deeply personal reasons for my disdain of it, I'll ask that you pause and consider whether such a discussion falls within your bandwidth. If you've no desire to hear a dissenting take on a piece of culturally lauded art that you may hold precious, there is little shame in skipping ahead to chapter 4. To that same end, in this segment, I will examine how the intricacies of religion and its refraction through the cracked prism of art play into one's identity. It will not be a facile discussion, and proverbial toes may be stepped on, but I feel this is a vital topic regardless of one's belief in quote-unquote God in any traditional sense. You may have more reservations about continuing, but I promise that if I reach the hereafter before you, I shan't tattle. What's more, you may come away with a more nuanced view of what faith, or a lack thereof, truly means. Sister Act was penned by Joseph Howard and follows a ribald lounge singer, Dolores, who witnesses a brutal slaying at the hands of her criminal lover and must take physical and emotional refuge amongst the Catholic sisterhood while posing as one of their own. Drawing inspiration from Titian's 1514 painting Sacred and Profane Love and Jonathan Lynn's 1990 film Nuns on the Run, the piece skewers many hallowed conventions of the time, including the separation of liturgical and popular music, and the notion that nuns should be real and not lounge singers. Condemned in its era as blasphemous and even pornographic, the film has seen a cultural reappraisal, with some now viewing it as a foremost example of American deconstructionist cinema. My friend and colleague, Patton Thune, called it a brutalist eulogy of 20th century sectarianism, of a piece with Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain or Luther's 95 Thesis.
I forgot about that
Except,
part.
it isn't. I suppose I've already lost some of you, but let me try to mitigate the damage by assuring you that my quarrel with the film is not one of personal offense. While I dabbled in Catholicism as a youth, I was never confirmed and hold little residual fondness for popery. Nor indeed did I miss the moment, so to speak. In fact, I saw the film in cinemas on its opening weekend with my social worker, Mrs. Duck, shortly after my parents' conviction. No, my loathing for Sister Act ultimately comes down to one thing and one thing only. It's simply nowhere near as profound as it thinks it is. Let's take a step back. Consider, if you will, St. Anselm's ontological argument for the existence of God as published in his hit novel, Proslogion, and paraphrased here. 1. God is the greatest perceivable being. 2. The quality of existence is greater than that of non-existence. 3. God perceivably leaves footprints on beaches. 4. Ergo, God exists.
Yeah, guess what? Number 3 is not St. Anselm's actual third ontological argument for the existence of God.
The concept is explored further in the sundry works of Descartes, Leibniz, and Gödel, and refuted by Galeno's perfect island thought experiment. Advanced learning computers have been employed to determine whether the theorem holds water. In truth, one of the few places in our global culture where you'll see no echo of St. Anselm's proof is in the 102 vapid pages of Joseph Howard's script for Sister Act. Adding to the parade of indignities, the film wastes a hauntingly villainous Harvey Keitel as Dolores' murderous beau. While his casting is clearly meant to recall his sublime Judas Iscariot from The Last Temptation of Christ 5 years prior, Howard and the filmmakers do bafflingly little with this parallel. The brutal themes of faith explored in the earlier film are sanitized here to the point of impotence, and Keitel is left hanging like the very Messiah he once so poignantly betrayed. So, what religion should you be? I do not know. The decision is extremely personal, and thus it may help us to return to the U-type you were assigned in the introduction. While I'm no formal theologian, I've traveled enough to have some insight on which faith may pair well with your specific type. If you are the coward whose beliefs come from a place of fear and pettiness, then Puritanism may be a good fit. The warrior, in all his vigorous aggression, may find concord in the teachings of the mighty sun god Ra. The dove is fragile and infirm, and may thus benefit from the strength and cunning of the Freemasons. The scribe, ever the rogue, tends to veer agnostic, while the sweet-natured Vestal may delight in the simple life of the Pennsylvania Mennonites. These are, of course, mere suggestions, and I lovingly support whatever faith or deity you choose to follow. All at a day's end are both valid and beauteous. I myself ascribe to no defined religion, though certain experiences endow me with a potent sense of the divine. Holding my wife's hand as we fall asleep, that first crisp bite of a fresh banana, the laughter of children crowding around a radio to hear Howdy Doody, the thrill of publishing a global bestseller, the smell of an elderly librarian, the first time I ever saw the Liberty Bell. But even more than the divine, what I believe in is people. To me, it is undeniable that human beings, for all their vices, exist. I see them daily, going about their business like bees in a hive. Even those I do not witness leave evidence of their existence behind. Every skyscraper, drawbridge, bar of soap, or ball of twine is proof that human beings live and breathe upon this earth. Yes, even a toothless religious satire about a lounge singer turned sister of the cloth serves to prove the existence of its creators. By reading this book, you prove that I am real, just as the money I receive for it proves that you are. In that way, dear reader, we are each other's God and each other's worshiper. And this, more than any other, is a religion I can get behind. Once you have chosen a theology with which you're happy, go again to the vanity and affix a totem of it to the mirror. This could be a Christianman's cross, an An Ra scarab, or a Masonic square and compass. If by some chance you found commonality with my conception of faith outlined above, feel free to use a photo or etching of me to convey this. Whatever you choose, know that this belief is a vital and precious piece of the you are, and that it is yours to defend with vigor. And fear not the judgment of the unlettered crowd, for your you is stronger than their they. They cannot crucify you if your hand is in a fist.
That is such idiocy piled on top of other idiocy. That's so good.
It's so good at showing what this book is, right? Like that to take a whole entire chapter of your self-help book to just deride a film that is not trying to be any sort of art piece at all, and to like go into like these crazy comparisons to like other theological works is so good. It's so good. Okay.
Just a small note. It's Titian, not Titian.
Oh,
the painter.
I don't know. So clearly you can see how uneducated I am. I've only read like maybe one or two of the texts mentioned, or viewed one or two of the pieces of art mentioned here.
Well, and this is again another great device that the book uses to critique self-help, is like the piling on of like texts and references to make you think that the author is perhaps smarter, more well-read, more, should be trusted, right?
It kind of worked on me, because like that third ontological point, I was pretty sure that St. Anselm didn't do like the footprints on the beach, parable that we hear so often in many youth Christian services or what have you. But like, I didn't know for sure, so like it could have snuck past me, like, oh, that's where that thing came from.
Oh, yeah. That's true. I forget what the third point is. God, I haven't read that since I was in college, so you'll forgive me for forgetting. Let me just pull it up. Yeah, so all right, the argument is, number one, we conceive of God as a being greater than which no greater can be conceived. So there's no greater being than God, conceived by people. Two, this being than which no greater can be conceived either exists in the mind alone, or both in the mind and in reality. Three, assume that this being than which no greater can be conceived exists in the mind alone. There are 3 subpoints. And then 4 is, therefore, this being than which no greater can be conceived exists in reality as well as exists in the mind. Yeah. It doesn't, personally, I don't think it fucking makes any sense, but I also...
Yeah.
I've read a lot of ontological philosophers, and I don't vibe with St. Anselm. But anyway, it's not that God leaves footprint on beaches. Yeah.
Yes. Once again, Paris, we must quantumly grade moment to moment. And I think it's the same as plot construction, right? Like -1 in universe, 1 in our meta-narrative sense of it.
Well, we're talking about prose quality, and I think the writing is correct. Like, the sentences are sound and the punctuation is right. So I feel like a 0 is more appropriate. I can't believe I'm saying this, but like,
sure.
I think
a 0 and a 1 then.
Yes. Okay.
I see your argument there. I see your footprints in the sand.
Yeah, you see you know I exist because of the critique I made.
Okay.
All right.
Moving into Terriblo's presence.
All right.
Okay, so chaos levels here. We're in the town of Kier, PE, wherever that is, which is where Severance takes place. Like, it's just a little bit odd the whole time, right? Like, there's just like details that make you go, huh? So, like we mentioned in the show, there's a lot of technology that is out of time. There's like very old cars popping up here. Like, the computers they used are very like old style CRT monitors, but they're still like cell phones and like text messaging. So that is present here.
I actually what's PE? I never saw a PE for like
there's some signs that it's a state abbreviation. It's a mystery state abbreviation.
Well, that's the other thing is I think the general consensus is that whatever this, alternate history state is, it's probably in the Pacific Northwest. That's sort of the vibe of the show. There's a lot of callbacks to like Washington State, Oregon, and also the landscape. I don't know. I just assume it's up there somewhere. But yeah, I would say there's definitely
a lot of the time.
The fabric of reality is definitely wavering. There's some small splits on the edges. It's a little weird. So we're mid Terriblo in terms of chaos levels.
As far as levels, as we just read for you, you're kind of going like, wait a minute, what? Like every other sentence in this book,
constant.
because
it's constant.
Again, a lot of facts that on their face can't be true, like the Coco the gorilla inventing ASL. You like even for like a second, like wait, what do you mean?
Yeah,
So
that's not right.
you're frequently pausing to go, so it's very high here. And the please help, I think, constantly, Paris.
Oh,
like,
yeah, we
reached out
were
to each other many times to be like, did you see this part?
Yeah, how many times did we reach out to each other? Innumerable times.
There is also a layer to this based on the fact that I had to purchase it on Apple Books, and since Paris and I don't share an Apple account,
let's say we had to share a copy of the book in a special way, and it led to some confusion.
So I guess what I can say is that Apple Books doesn't let you copy and paste things like to each other as if we're sending like long passages.
Right.
For more than a couple paragraphs. Even if you highlight about 2 pages and you try to send that to someone, it will truncate it. It'll just like cut off and like add an ellipses and then also add like taken from the UUR by Dr. Ricken Lazlo Hale, PhD.
Oh, it auto dedicates
it auto
it.
cites.
Oh, that's funny.
It like auto cites it and like truncates it. So for every passage that I had to send to you, it was a painstaking process of like having to like find where it truncated and then like copy the next bit over and then like try to like put that together into a coherent thing. So like some things were lost in translation because like it wasn't a perfect copy all the time, I think. Leading to you at one point being like, did he just skip a U type entirely? And me being like, oh no, I just like fucked up the copy paste of that one paragraph, sending it over to you.
Yeah.
So in that way, I think Terriblo's Tentacles reached out to add some chaos into the experience here. So overall, for Terriblo's Presence, we can quantumly grade this. I see you adding it to the notes here, Paris, and I'm going to agree that it's a 1 in both senses.
Yeah, Terriblo transcends alternate history and quantum classification.
As you would expect. You would expect. Okay, should this exist? Okay, so we're quantumly grading this again. So
oh, right, yeah. So this is a quantum grade. So in universe,
would readers of this genre enjoy this?
Oh God, no.
I think we see in the show that certain types of characters, shall we say, let's say normal characters, when they pick this up, they have the reaction of like, Jesus Christ, what is going on in here? But other characters, and I don't know how much of a spoiler it is to sort of describe. Well, it's like established in the first episode. Is it spoilery to describe innies and outies?
I mean, that's revealed? Is that revealed in the first episode of the show, or is it not?
It is.
Yeah, then I think that's fine because that's not really spoiling anything. That's just a base level understanding of the show. So, go ahead.
Okay, Severance is basically about people that have separated consciousnesses when they go to work. So when you clock in at work, you take a special elevator and you have a completely different consciousness that is separated from the memories and context of your outside of work personality. So it gets into the question of like, what is the root you? What is really the you are? Thus the book that we have here. So they are separated into outies and innies. Outies are your outside of work personality and innies are your in work personality. So what I'm trying to say is that outies find Dr. Ricken's work to be sort of off-putting in the way that we do. But innies, because they lack so much context and they haven't really read a lot, find it profound. So I suppose the outies would not enjoy this, but the innies would.
Well, I don't know. I want to push back a little bit on what you said.
Okay.
There are plenty of people in the outside world who love Ricken. I mean, think about all the money that he's made and think about the reading circles that we see on the show and his friends that are like sycophantic and think he's brilliant. So I think like most famous self-help people, you have a hardcore set of adherents and it's popular because sometimes people just want to believe anything that's going to help them get like they have an answer.
Or Paris,
what?
Conspiracy theory, Severance theory time here.
Okay, this is a spoiler, I guess.
All of Ricken's friends are permanent innies.
that are let
No.
into the outside
No.
world. That's
No,
why they
Chris,
act weird.
no.
That's why they
No.
act so
No.
weird all the time.
No, get out of here. Go away. And then secondly, you said that innies find the book profound because they haven't read a lot of stuff, but the weird thing is that the personality separation just makes you forget personal details, not general understanding.
Yes.
Right? Because, like,
but they
you
don't
know,
remember
for example,
books they've read. They remember perhaps general understanding that they might have picked, but they definitely don't remember media
okay.
consumed.
Yeah, maybe you're right. You're right. So I would say it comes from deprivation, because they're the only
Yes.
reading material they have at work is manuals for how to do their work and like policies and stuff. They don't have any like fiction content or even nonfiction. Like, well, I guess except for things about the family that runs the Lumen Company, the
Yes.
Egan's. There is material about them that you can read, experience, whatever. So yeah. So due to deprivation of anything that's not directly work related to their job function or to the Egan's and like Lumen Company stuff, this is like fantastic because it's just different. It's just not what they
Yes.
always have to like see and read.
Yes.
All right. So do we feel as if the author's goal was met? That's an easy yes in both universes, both versions
I
of
would
the
say,
universe.
yeah, if you want just the shallow self-help personality test kind of thing, it's happening here, man.
All right. And does it add anything new, interesting, or novel? I think in universe, no. Out of universe, yes. I think it is very fun to have a book from a TV show brought to life and available to the public. I think that was very fun.
I agree.
All right. Did it take something from us? I would actually say no in both in universe and out. I think this was a short, easy read. Even
I would agree.
Even if you hated it, didn't really bother me. What should someone read instead of this? In universe, fucking read anything else. Out of universe, I'd say you could also read the other mini book from the Severance verse, the Lexington Letter, which you can also get on Apple Books. I don't know if it's available anywhere else.
I found it reproduced and copy pasted on a Severance wiki, so that's where I read it. And it's, it's a little interesting extra backstory if you're really trying to like theory craft and dive into Severance lore. It's definitely worth taking a look at.
But yeah, I don't think you need to read anything instead of this. I think like if you are into Severance, it's fun. It's not necessary, but like I would say you could also read that. But I don't know. I guess if you're not into this show, then I don't know. Read something about a show you like. I don't know. Read whatever.
Agree.
It's not a big deal.
Agree.
All right.
Okay, so grading, should this exist on the quantum level, -1 in universe and 1 outside of universe. This is a really wonderful text in our world. Okay,
right.
So we must dual grade, once again, quantumly here. Let's do the in-universe grade. Technical construction 1, plot construction -1, moment-to-moment 0, Terriblo's presence 1. That should be a -1,
Oh,
though,
I'm
right?
sorry. I'm sorry, -1.
Yeah, so that's another -1 there. And then should this exist -1 for a grand total in universe of -2.
Wow. Okay.
As for our universe, technical construction 1, plot construction 1, moment to moment 1, Terriblo's presence 1, should this exist 1. This is a 5 out of 5.
Wait. I changed my vote. Should this exist should be a 0.
Should be, okay. So 4 out of 5 on this one, I guess, which I find very agreeable to say that. So -2 in universe, 4 in our world, I would say. Which
this is our first quantum grade. How exciting! How exciting!
We can grade metally, shall we say? Okay. Can we fix it, Paris? I'm gonna do this. We're not quantumly doing this. I'm just doing this in our universe here. And honestly, I have nothing to add here except just like more, please.
Yeah, I feel like this was kind of a fun little slice of brilliance, and my only note is just that I wanted more like Kier or Lumen secrets hinted at in there, and I didn't notice any, but I might have just like missed it. But that's my only mild critique. I think this was a very fun and creative thing to do for a hardcore fan base for this very innovative show. So
let's just take a moment here to say, watch Severance. It is perhaps one of my favorite pieces of sci-fi media that I've seen in a long time. It is very well crafted. It might go the direction of Lost, where they have a bunch of mysteries that they set up and they don't ever really resolve it. It doesn't feel that way right now. It does not
like
feel
Lost
that way
at all. No. Yeah, I think it's a brilliant show. It's also beautiful. So even if you
agree,
for some reason are not into this type of like thinky sci-fi, like, thing, like puzzle sort of a show, it is beautifully crafted and shot. So like the set design, the artistic concept, and the cinematography in some of the episodes in particular, especially this season, there's one episode that I'm thinking of that was just gorgeously done. I don't know. It's very visually stunning and arresting, and also in terms of, its plot and execution. So I don't know. This really hits all the marks for me. Also one of my favorite shows I've seen. So I suggest watching it.
Very good stuff. Very good stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? In approximately 8 to 10 years, I will not come back on the show and be like, I'm sorry, I recommended Severance. It's actually not as good as I remember. No, this is incredible. This is not an American God situation. So please watch it.
Okay. Well, thanks, Paris, for joining me on this lovely journey. And we will also thank our patrons and Ko-fi donors. Shout out to our lurkers on Patreon who aren't currently donating but still grace us with their watchful gaze, like 50, Anna, Anya, Arendt, BB, 89, Carol, Caroline, Eldritch, Nemo, George, Gray, Jan, Katie, Kristen, Last Man on Earth 01, Robin, Samantha, Throttle 19, and Zoe. Our paying members, like our Bad Bookworms, Ben, Donnie, Emily, Jakob, Jared, Scott, and Will, are exacting editors. We can welcome Elliot and Xander into the exacting editor fold.
Yay.
Woo! We also have mainstays Kieran, David, D, Emmy, Funny Robot with Antennas, Greg, Harry 7, Martin, Rootbeer Cutie, and the Ugly One. Our loathsome librarians like Veronica, Beast with the Least, Yanka, Luchek, Patricia, Julius, and Of the Void, the taco-eating unicorn of the hot springs. And of course, our pesky publishers like Miles, Austin, Patrick, and Fred. We can also thank our Ko-fi donors like Mark, Tracy, our ever-faithful Kiwi Thing, and Excavating Lizard, along with Martin F. Brenna and Matthew, who relieved us of terrible books. If you want some terrible books we've read for the show, you can buy them over on our Ko-fi page.
Woo, thank you, Chris.
Paris. I am off to sever myself from the experience of having to do terrible books. I'm just going to I'm going to have an any personality to just do TBC from now on.
Oh my God, so, what would any Paris and Chris be like?
Horrible. I think they'd be... I think they'd be Ricken. I think I would be Ricken as an
Oh
idiot.
God, no. I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. If I was only my work self, ugh.
Or like a Paris removed from the context of your life growing up.
I would be insufferable.
I think we'd both be Ricken, man. I think that's what it would be.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let's turn away from that ugly possible alternate reality. I am starving. You
Close
can
the door on that real hard.
Audibly hear my stomach grumbling. So I think we're going to go feed ourselves in this universe on the next and then record another episode.
Here we go. All right, Paris. I'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of Terrible Book Club. Terrible Book Club is an independent podcast produced by your hosts, Paris and Chris. Sound design and audio editing by Chris, with sound effects and music by Epidemic Sound and sometimes also Chris. Our theme song is Kiss by Yearn, which is, you guessed it, actually also Chris. You can find more of his soothing synthy sounds on Bandcamp at yearn.bandcamp.com. Do you want us to review a book of your choice on the show? Do you want access to some extra audio-visual weirdness? If so, become a patron at patreon.com/terriblebookclub. If you'd like to send us a one-time tip instead, you can do that at ko-fi.com/terriblebookclub. You can also support TBC for free by sharing the show on social media, following our accounts on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Goodreads, telling your friends about your favorite episode, or by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or anywhere else on the internet. To send us book recommendations or your adorable pet photos, send an email to terriblebookclub@gmail.com.